Testing, testing. All right, let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Testing, testing. All right, good, good, good. Guys, right out the gate, UJ's ready. And I do want to say that because of the government shutdown, if you guys are in the States, that has affected the non-farm. I'm sorry, not the non-farm, the dollar economic news that was supposed to be for today. So you know, they take care of those statistics, and because they're shut down, doesn't seem like we'll be getting any accurate information this morning on the dollar. So, it's not like we're flying blind, but, we were expecting news this morning and we're not going to get it. Or we're expecting the data for the economic news this morning and we're not going to get it. So it's back to square one, which has always been going by market structure. All right. So we'll take a look at the dollar. All right. And for the most part, what you guys can see is that we're respecting this demand level. And then we're most likely going to rise. All right. So just need to get lower and look at the details of structure. And yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like right now. We have a nice double bottom here at demand. We rose up. We didn't quite break the highs just yet, right? We've been playing around as we started to go down a little bit more. But now, if this candle closes like this, it has 36 minutes left to close. But if it closes with that nice wick, then there's a good chance that we will start to push up, breaking this trend line. All right, and there's liquidity sitting behind each and every one of these wicks and high points. All right, so that is money to go get on top of a fair value gap being here that has not been balanced out, and then obviously our supply area. All right, guys, so I will be looking for the dollar to rise. Now, technically, whenever we have a government shutdown, the dollar doesn't tend to rise initially, like it tends to dip initially and then rise, right? So in about 5 minutes or so, we're going to see what actually happens. If the dollar's going to give a little dip, sweeping these equal lows, possibly getting to this demand level and then rise, or if we won't do any of that and we'll just rise right out the gate, which I'm hoping for. But hope is not a strategy. We got to go by what the candles show. All right, so right now let's go over to the JPY. All right, because the JPY is about to die. All right, okay, so what's going on here on the JPY, guys? Okay, is that we have divergence. All right, on the chart we're making higher highs, but on the RSI we're making lower highs. Right, that's giving us a good indication, right, that price will fall. All right, now a lot of times when I see divergence like this, price will typically come down a little bit. This is a bit of a demand level, and then it'll push up to take out this high, and then it'll do the drop, kind of giving us a double top. All right, again, I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but anything's possible. Okay, so ultimately, even if it does all that, I'm still expecting the JPY to fall to this demand, possibly this one, maybe even this one. All right, for the rest of the week. All right, so with that being said, we definitely need to look at dollar JPY. All right, so I've already bought it. Okay, guys, and this is a play that I feel that you guys should get in right now. All right, it's currently at the same price I bought it at from yesterday, so I bought it over here. After it mitigated the fair value gap, it put me in a profit. It came back down, went right back to the same area of the fair value gap, and now it's starting to rise. So this is a nice correlation to the JPY. And if you guys just pay attention to the market structure, right, you got this big run up, and then you got bearish divergence on the JPY. And then on the dollar JPY, you have this big run down and then double bottom, right? So we may have divergence, but it's very hard to see. So yeah, I do see it, right? There's chart making lower lows and RSI making higher lows, all right? So we have two forms of divergence. On the JPY, we have bearish divergence. On the dollar JPY, we have bullish divergence, all right? Again, you guys will learn about that, but dollar JPY is a great play. So I'll give you guys this so far, and we got 2 minutes to news. Now, a lot of times people are scared to trade during news, and it makes sense, right? Especially if you're a rookie. But in a situation like this, the chart is already telling me that it wants to go up. All right, so regardless of news, right, I will be wanting to buy, which I'm already buying. But then, in 3 minutes or so, when news comes out, right, it could be positive for the dollar, even though we're not going to get the data, and we do have a government shutdown, right, which is the opposite. But again, it still could come out positive. Even sometimes when it comes out negative, that still doesn't mean the dollar's going to drop, right? So it's funny like that, and you guys will notice that over time. But basically, I like to go with market structure every day, all day, despite what economic news is going to come out, right? So if I lose it, okay, I lost 50, 60 pips, right? It may reverse, but then it typically, sets itself right back up for me to get in, for it to go in my intended direction, all right? But here is the play on UJ. And guys, hit that like and subscribe button for me. Appreciate that love. Entry is 146898. Stop loss is 146304. That's 59 pips. And again, guys, this is just a little, your entry is going to be a little off because I did purchase this earlier than when I called it, but you're still around the same price point. So just know that it's all good. All right, and we got 312 pips to the previous week's high, which is also equal highs, which is liquidity. All right, so again, very nice setup on dollar JPY. Okay, and since the JPY is looking very bearish, then that means the rest of our JPY pairs, right, may also begin to rise. So here we are on UJ. Let's take a look at America's favorite. All right, GJ, and not UJ, but no, it's GJ. So GJ has swept this previous week low. All right, and my team caught this. And if you guys check out that weekly watch list from this past Sunday, we were here on JPY. I said we'll tap in and we'll drop, and that's exactly what it did. So for the past 2 days, guys, GJ has gone 237 pips, and now it's time for reverse, right? We swept the low, and now we can, we can begin to rise up, but we really haven't broken any highs just yet. So if we take the buy, we're doing it, I guess, prematurely, if you will, right? And I mean without confirmation of it breaking any highs for us to know that it really wants to start rising higher. All right, so okay, Bain, you said we got to break a high. Which high? This one right here. All right, if we break above this high, we'll have a change in the structure where we will no longer be going run, pull back, run, pull back, run, pull back, run, pull back, run, and then pull back, right? We'll have a run up, right? That breaks the structure. Okay, hoping you guys are seeing that and understanding that to some degree. If you got questions about it, please throw it in the chat and let me know. All right, but breaking that trend line will give us, and then breaking this high will give us a change of character to the upside. So with that, when it happens, right, we're happy about it because we know that we're about to start rising. But what we want to do when this happens is be patient, right? Because there's some demand level here, or there's some fair value gap here, right? That price will most likely gravitate back to, okay, to set itself up for the rise. All right, this is just letting you know that it no longer wants to go down when it breaks this high. Okay, that's what that's telling you. Okay, so then you're like, okay, then if you guys are going to go higher, then I don't want to buy it high, right? I want to wait till you guys go lower, and then I want to buy it, right? That's the difference, guys. And so many people's success, if you will, in Forex, not buying high, right? And not selling low, right? Seeing price break a high, make the new high to let you know, okay, yeah, it does want to go higher, but now we just need to wait, be patient, right? For price to drop into your area or your zone. And again, you don't always have to wait on it, right? You can just set your pending orders in those areas, and then they'll do the activation, without your interaction, right? And from there, we'll be headed all the way up for 300 and some odd pips. Well, that was on UJ. We'll see how much it is here on GJ. I'm favoring the sell-off. What's your thoughts on AuCAD? Man, I don't like AuCAD. I did mark it up, and I will review it for you. But AuCAD moves very, very slowly, even though it does have great market structure. So I'll take a look at it for you right now. Oh, it's going to drop. Yeah, AuCAD is going to drop. All right, let's do just a little bit more analysis on this real quick, but I can see a drop in coming right now. So hold on. On the week, you said I'm favoring the sell-off. All right, so we're on the same page with that, and that is good. So looking at the previous week high, up here and then the previous week low up here, right? And I'm not talking about just last week, because clearly this is 4 weeks, right? I'm just talking about the weekly time frame, not the actual week, like Monday through Friday. So on the weekly time frame, with the structure that it's giving, right, this was a low point from, when we begin this week, right? Before this week began, this was a low point, this was a high point. And so with that, it's telling me that price was in a uptrend. All right. So once we had got to this high, we wanted to wait for price to get to some low point to buy it. And you can see that on this week is when we got down to that low point, and then what happened? It rose up. So it should have broken this high, right? So, we made the run, we made the pullback, and here's the run happening, which should have broken this high. But as we get to a lower time frame, okay, we're seeing that we're getting rejection of that high. All right, now that's really good when you're looking for a sell, right? But that does not mean that it won't continue going higher. All right, so coming down to the 4-hour, all right, and we're just getting more details. And now we have a chart or a candlestick pattern that represents price going down right here. This is these 3 candles, 1, 2, 3. That is your evening star. All right. So again, just trying to highlight it for everyone to see. These 3 candles, right? That is your evening star. So Google that and you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. Take a screenshot, do whatever you got to do. All right. These are the telltale signs of knowing what price most likely is going to do. All right. So with that evening star, yeah, that is a bearish reversal pattern. All right. So we'll go down to the 2-hour, get more details. All right. So I have some supply areas here and getting this out the way. All right. Let's go lower. Okay. So a little lower. All right. Here we go. So basically, we had a change of character right here, right? We broke this low that ended up breaking this high, right? Broke those highs. So when we came down, we broke it. We changed from going up to down, all right? But once we broke, price did what it normally does, pulled back, right, to the high and started taking out this, previous high as well as the previous weekly high, right? And just playing around with people, right? Which is why when you sell it high, right, you always want to give yourself a little wiggle room with your stop loss above those highs. Because again, you don't have to always do that, but I'm just saying, it's a pretty, good thing to do, because sometimes it does this, right? Look how it played with this high point, right? Took it out, came down, took it out again, and then it completely fell. So, a lot of people would, pretty much be upset if they had a very tight stop loss, right? And they'll feel like they don't know what they're doing, right? That creeps in, but that's not the reality of it. The reality of it is you just had your stop loss too tight. You were completely right about the direction. As a matter of fact, if you sold it from the high, right, you pretty much got, 20 pips, right, in about 2 hours, which is not that good. And why I don't like to trade the all cat, because it moves slow. But to answer your question, bro, I do like this for a sell for sure, because this whole little pattern right here is that evening star that we saw on the higher time frame. So yeah, this is ready to go. All right, but I'm just clean it up a little bit for a few things. Okay. Thanks to your technical analyst every week, I'm grasping the top-down technical analysis. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Man, how do you get a round of applause on here? All right, listen, that is what I am talking about. All right, I love to hear it. That's one of the main things that I do get, from my members is that, hey, I understand this stuff now, man. It's making more sense. Okay, and when it makes sense, y'all know what else it makes, right? dollars, mucho dinero. Okay, so here is before we got the break, we had this last candle before this impulsive move down. All right, that would be your supply area. Okay, so what we can expect is for price to push up to the supply, and guess what? There's imbalance right below it, right? And that's typically, it's typically like that, because whenever you get an impulsive move, it usually gives you a gap, right? There's not enough bullish pressure when you have a lot of supply, right? There's just bearish pressure, and that's why you get the drop. That's why you get the impulsive move. See here, over in this side, there was a lot of bullish pressure, right? And that created a gap. And then when we came down to this gap, right, we're still respecting this whole demand area right now. You get what I'm saying? So these are, little things, right? But ultimately, we can just worry about where price is currently. And like I mentioned, you can see the respect here. All right. So you got to keep that into consideration, right? Trading is all about knowing how to read market structure continuously, right? All the way up to when you actually get into the trade, to when you exit the trade, right? Because sometimes you want to get into extra positions, as the trade is going, and that's what, managing your trade is all about. Okay, knowing how to read market structure continuously. Okay, so again, what I would expect, just to get a good position on odd cat, is that rise up to the supply level. All right, and looking behind it, everything is balanced out, right? There's no imbalance, there's no gaps, there's no additional supply areas. So with this, we can get away with a very tight stop, right? Because all the manipulation happened already, right? We took out this high, we took out the previous week high, we made a double top, right? We broke the neckline, right? Now we just need to pull back to the supply area, and that'll be right here. All right, now we can go a little lower just to see if there may be anything. Okay, so a little gap here, and there's one here. So it's tricky, but you gotta, in this situation like this, you gotta pick which one you prefer. All right, because it will go down, but now this will put most people on freeze, if you will, because they'll be like, okay, I don't know which one is it going to be, right? Which one is it really going to reverse from or drop from, right? Is it going to be this supply? Is it going to be this supply? Or is it going to be this supply? Okay. So this is a little tricky, guys, and this is how to play it. All right. The best way is just put sell limits at each one of them. All right. That's it. Right. Sell limit here, tight stop, sell limit here with a tight stop. Right. Because as much as, we know that price should get back to these areas, it does not always happen. Look right now, price is pushing down and it hasn't gotten back to any of these areas just yet. All right. But I'm seasoned, so I know that I'm not going to bank on it just falling like this, right? Especially when there's imbalance and supply above it, right? So I would take the buy position like this, right? And I would take it up to supply here, here, or here, right? And that would just be one of my ways, right, to try to take advantage of the possibility of it tapping back into these areas. I'm only risking 5 pips to make about 20 pips. But again, remember, it took 2 days for that to happen. So again, Nick, this is kind of why I don't really mess with CAD. It's too slow. All right. Again, structure's good, but unless you have like, a lot of money in your account, right? This can be, this can work out, right? Because, you can put a large position on and you only can get a few pips, and that'll cover you, right, for the amount of money that you probably want to make, in a day or two or possibly the week. But yeah, it's just not fast enough for me, bro. So yeah, I see the sell. right? It's on the way. I would not sell it right now, right? Wait for it to get higher to any one of these supply areas and then take the drop. And I think you'll be good to go. All right, I'll take a look at gold. Okay, cool. I just happen to see the structure. Yeah, the lower you go, the better the structure. Well, the more structure you'll see, the more detailed structure you'll see. Let's put it that way. But still, getting it from a higher time frame, so like that 4-hour time frame, right? That gives you the bigger picture. Okay. Now you can see that's clean structure up, clean structure down, clean structure up. So now we're about to get that clean structure down. And I do see divergence here as well. So again, the highs are making higher highs. Okay. And the lows, I'm sorry, the RSI is making lower highs. So yeah, AuCAD is definitely going to be something that you can pretty much hold on to for the next couple of days, bro. All right. If I look at, here, this is Friday of last week, roughly, and pushing up to the highs. It took a week to get 121 pips. Okay, not bad, but again, just, slow in my book. All right. Here is another demand level that you can aim for that I think you'll get, and that's, that'll be well over that 121 pips, obviously, right? But hanging on to it, you have the opportunity. Let's kind of get from supply all the way down. Yep, 200 pips. All right, I would set it and forget it, bro. All right, when it gets to those supply areas from that lower time frame, like when it gets up to here, I would sell it, right? And then I'll just let it ride out, bro, until it gets as low as it wants to go. Obviously, if you're up 100 pips, lock in your profits, right? But if it just happens to blast off, congratulations, you're on your way to 200 pips off of one trade, right? It's that simple, all right? But there you go, bro. Going to gold, all right? Because Lord knows, in times of economic turmoil, right, gold is the way to go, okay? So it did do the rise, right, from this demand area, and it tapped right into, almost tapped into supply, all right, but not all the way. All right, but let me get a little higher, get my grounding on what's really going on with gold. Again, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. All right, Nate, bro, so we broke last week's high, or the weekly time frame, right? The high of the weekly time frame, rather. We broke that high and we pushed up, right? Because there was still, things causing uncertainty in the economy, right? So we ended up pushing up and we went higher, right? So there was bearish divergence that was spotted right here. And again, on the RSI, you can see it right there. Okay. So we're getting bearish divergence all over the place, right? So that means we should get a fall on gold, and then if we come back over to look at JPY is falling, so our UJ trade should be up. We'll take a look at that. But here's dollar, all right, again looking like it wants to rise, right, off the double top from demand. We got a bit of a higher low, right? So we should go and get up to the supply area. So with the correlation with the dollar and gold, right, they're inversely correlated, meaning when the dollar rises, gold typically falls. All right, so looking at gold, guys, with the bearish divergence, right, it matches, right? Dollar looks like it wants to rise, gold looks like it wants to fall, right? We got the high, we got a new high, but now we're kind of rejecting the previous high. So now we need to get low, all right, and see how this is really playing out on this lower time frame. Now we got this bit of a curve, right, in the structure, and typically that, that means higher, right? But again, we're coming up against this supply area here. So let me just get this mapped out. Okay, so that supply, and we did tap into it, And from there, we got this drop. So to be honest with you, because of the bearish divergence and because the dollar looks bullish and because we rejected the supply on gold, and then the next candle was a bearish engulfing candle, and we're getting more wicks to come in showing rejection of buyers, I do like gold for the sell right now. All right, so I'm just going to get a little lower. All right, and yeah, so here's some things that come out or point out pretty quickly is we got this nice trend line break. Okay. All right, we also have a nice break of this low. Well, okay, we rejected that low. All right, so with this, now this puts me on edge a little bit, all right, or makes me pause because this is telling me that we're not really quite ready to drop, okay? But that's not always the case, right? It's just, it's a little stopping point because again, this was a demand level in some way, shape, or form, like this candle right here before we pushed up and again consolidated, pushed up. So there's demand in here, all right, which is why it's kind of, showing us the bulls, which are the wicks below the candles, continuously showing up, right? But if we go to like, there's only the 1 minute time frame left, and here's where you get the more details, and now you can actually see we did get a break, right? So then, like I said, every time we break, price is going to pull back, most of the time, right? 95%. Okay, it's going to pull back to some key point of interest. All right, and in this case, we have supply here. Okay, before that impulsive move down. Okay, and we also have this level of supply here before another impulsive move down. Okay, so we did tap into where we needed to tap into, and this would have been a confluence area, guys. Just showing you that this is where the trend line, okay, and the supply area met or meet. Okay, so once we got that candle, it would have been a go. I would have sold it right here. I would have had my stop above this high, and I would have been in profit. All right, I would have been yep, I would have had 50 pips on gold, and I guess that's 6 minutes. Okay, all right, again, this is how it goes. All right, Nate, what were you thinking about gold, by the way? Were you looking for the drop, or what was your analyst on it? Because right now I do like it for the sell. So it's a little imbalance right here. Okay, and because it's holding on to demand, or this level of support rather, let's put it that way, it does raise an eyebrow. Okay. All right, so what I would want to see is, once again, gold push up to supply or to that fair value gap before it drops. So I'll put a position here and I'll put my stop above this. That's just a 4-point move. So again, 40 pips on gold. Every dollar movement is 10 pips. All right, that's how that goes. All right, so I'm going to put my sell limit right at that fair value gap. All right, again, stop just $4 above supply, and then I'll go out. Well, I don't even have to go to the higher time frame, really. I can just see this is where the lows are. All right, this is where the money is. Okay, push it on down. 24 points on gold, guys. That's 240 pips. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, so that's how I would want to play gold. But you can also try to scalp gold up to the supply area. So basically what I'm saying is that because we know that we want to get into a sell, right, and it's not ready for the sell, what does that tell us? It tells us, well, it's most likely going to keep rising, all right, or there's a potential for a rise. So you put in a long position right now, and you just go with a very tight stop, right? Again, yeah, you can put it behind here if you want, but I mean, we're trying to get away with, not doing too much, right? Because gold is telling us that it wants to fall, and it could easily not get to here and just fall, right? So you don't want to risk a whole lot on the counter move, right? On the pullback, on the retracement, right? Whenever you're trading pullbacks, retracement, guys, I go with tight stops. All right. Whenever you're trading the runs or the moves that's in the intended direction, that's when you give yourself more wiggle room on the stop loss, right? Because it knows that, the market makers, they know, the institutions, they know they want to push price down, right? They're showing you, right, with the candles, if you can read it, right? Look at this already, getting in profit from just putting the position there. But they know that they want to push it down, but what they're going to do is they're going to try to make you believe that they want to push it up. They're going to go push, 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 push. Maybe they'll give you one big candle, right, up, and you'll be like, oh shit, gold's going back up, right? And what happens? It just kind of gets right to the tippy top of supply, and then it drops, and then you're pissed off, and you feel like somebody's after you, right? Again, guys, I'll teach you, right? But you got to rock with me, okay? Forexwithbain.com. Click on the link for the Discord and get in there. All right, guys. I'm all about the education. I'm not trying to sell you something, right? But you will be sold. All right, that's for sure. Okay. Yeah, man. That's what I got on Go. So again, guys, if you want this, here it is. Again, hit that like and subscribe. Gold is a sell limit order, guys. That is a pending order. Okay, and our entry is 3886. All right, our stop loss is 3890. Okay, and our take profit is 3862. So I was thinking to push up before the drop. Yep. And that's exactly what we're getting right now. Again, if we would have just bought this without me talking, we would have had about 50 pips, maybe even more. It might push up to here, right? Again, this is a supply area, so that could be 50 to 60, maybe 70 pips that we can make on gold, and then who knows, right? Because again, like I mentioned, we're still in turmoil with this whole government shutdown thing. So gold could still rise, guys, and then our sell might not make it, right? We might lose that sell, but it's a hell of a risk to reward. I'm talking 1 to 6, right? So we're risking 1,000 to make 6,000, risking $1 to make $6, risking $10 to make $60. However you want to slice and dice it, right? You're 6xing your money, so it's worth the setup. It's worth the trade. You get what I'm saying? And especially knowing that, there's potential, right? A good potential. Price is coming from a major supply area. Price also has, again, show you guys once again, major divergence, bearish divergence on it, right? This is a 4-hour time frame, so that's heavy, right? It's not the 10-minute, the 5-minute, right? For 4 hours, it's been giving us divergence and respecting this previous high for now. Right? Again, sometimes, like I said, I notice it'll take out that high and then drop. So again, that's where we might lose the sell, right? And then we'll end up still winning the direction, but you got to be, you got to stay on top of it, right? When most people lose a trade, they shut down the laptop or, close the phone and, go scream at the world, right? But the professionals, we know, hey, the setup was good, right? It's just the timing was off. Right? That's all it was. Or maybe there was some kind of economic factor that kind of pushed it against us, just a little bit. Right? But we're going to be right back on the chart looking for that next entry point to sell it once again. And then with that next go round, that's where we make it all, that's where we get it all back, right? Whatever we lost initially, that $4 move, right? That 40 pips that we lost, let's say it pushes up 80 pips or $8 move, all right? So we lost only $40 or 40 pips, right? Depending on your lot, right? And then it went up four more dollars, but then after that, it dropped like $200, right? It's because that's what it was trying to do all along, right? That's what the charts are showing. But, if you didn't believe that, right, then once you take the loss, you're feeling like, oh, that's what you expected to happen will never happen. When the reality is, the reason why you lost, it was just manipulation or, just trying to get you up out of there, which is, it succeeded in doing so that it could push down, right? So again, guys, when you take a loss, stop, feeling like it's the end of the world right away, right? Go back and reevaluate what's going on with price because the setup may still be there. The entries, may be better now because again, it'll be at a higher price point, right? And then the move in the direction that you intended it to be in will be faster, right? Because the manipulation is over with, right? So if you don't take anything else from me, all right, please take that. No diddy. Okay. Well job. Oh, we'll be joining your premium group next week, fam. You'll be my first mentor for sure. For sure, Nick. Appreciate that love. Yeah, get the family in there, man. I don't know if you got kids and whatnot, but get them in the mix too if they can comprehend well enough. And I do break it down. I got a song called Forex Kids. If you want, you can just well, I'll give you my email here. So it's all right, there it is. And send me an email and I will get you that song. So if you got kids, they can learn about this and how it goes, or you can just, have them join and they'll learn, directly with me. But yeah, I will definitely get you right. And you'll be like, oh man, I can't believe it. This is beautiful. Okay. But let's look at it on that lower time frame. I think we got to go all the way to the 1 minute. Oh, what do you know? Look at that, guys. All this time we should have bought. Golly. Man, just no drawdown, guys. The tightest stop. We got away with damn near 2 pips or 2 points on gold. And now look, our sell limit is activated, right? All that talking, right? And this is why I do sell limits, right? Because I'm very often busy and doing other things, right? And I can't stare at the chart 24/7, guys, right? I do my markups on the weekend, right? I do my replan on the weekend. I do everything to see, what's going to play out for the next week. And if I see things that look really good, I put my positions on, right? Now, if I just happen to be not busy and I can look at the charts, okay, well, great. You know what I mean? Because then I can give it, more love and attention. But guys, we made money coming up, right? And look, it's still pushing up a little bit, but look, our sell limit is activated. And then look, as it pushes up, it may hit this trend line. Like it might take out this high. It might feel this little bit of imbalance here, and it may even push up very, very close to our stop loss. But then it'll turn around, right? And that's what I'm expecting. All right. So if it does that, look at how quickly we made money going up. All right. So let me put this in perspective really for you guys, right? This is less than 2 pips or 2 points on gold. That's 20 pips, right? And this is 6 points on gold. All right. If you took out a micro lot, right? That's just 10 cents per pip. Then you would have made $6, right? And you were risking $2. Okay. But if you put in a mini lot, right, you would have made $60, right? Risking $20. Okay. And boom, take profit, smash on the buy, by the way. Right. And last but not least, if you took out a standard lot, excuse me, if you took out a standard lot, you would have made $600 and you would have been risking $200. But guess what? You made $600, guys, live with your boy in 4 minutes. Okay, 4 to 5 minutes or what have you. Okay, Again, I need somebody to get up excited up in here. Okay, this is what the lives are all about, guys. Showing you, look at what I mentioned. So fill that gap, and now we're in supply, and we're getting a little bit of rejection. Wonder why did it drop right here? Okay, why did it start to, like, push down and reverse right here? Right, it just is what it is. And again, like I mentioned, so I've made money coming up. So if I just so happen to lose this sell, right, this is a $4 move, but I made well over I made $8 going up. So if I lose this, right, I'm still in the positive. Okay, guys, because you take away 4 from the 8, that's 4, right? So I still got 40 pips out the mix. But now look, it's pushing down completely from this area, guys. All right. Well, it's taking its time, but eventually, guys, as we just let it play out, you might be surprised, right? But easy peasy lemon squeezy, guys. Hope this is making sense. Make sure to ask your questions while you can, because we are coming up on the hour. All right, to get this, over with. So since gold pushed up, then maybe dollar pushed down a little bit. Okay, no, it didn't. It actually pushed up from where we were. We were here, and now it pushed up. So we do have just a little bit of supply right here, all right, because it did break a low to the left. All right, so got to be mindful of this, and this is why I'm saying, again, like, you guys have to read structure continuously, right? And if you can't read, right, well, we know what that's like in real life, right? Okay. So, very disastrous. Okay. Definitely want to be able to read the structure, and know, what's the overall picture, and if it lines up with the overall picture. All right. But once again, for dollar, I am expecting a rise. All right. When will we get it? World may never know. All right. But now this is giving me, because it's respecting that trend line, it's respecting the supply. So I'm kind of getting a little vibes that we will push down and just kind of sweep those lows before we go like this. But again, this is just, possibilities. Okay. The other possibility is that we just break straight through, right? So, preparing for both is what, helps you to become better at this thing called trading. All right. Let's see what we got on these indices, because those were some heavy hitters for today. Let's check our UJ real quick, because we did get into that buy. And we're in profit, ladies and gents. No surprise. Okay, another double bottom. All right, went right to the fair value gap, right in the middle. Again, teach you guys about that. We got imbalance here, imbalance there, imbalance everywhere. All right, but more than anything, we are getting a nice push up. So we're about 14 pips in profit on dollar JPY. All right, guys. Let's check gold really quick, and then we'll go to okay, still hanging in there, right? But notice, guys, we got up there and we started pushing. Look at the wicks above the candle, meaning no more bullish pressure. So the bulls try to push up, bears say, nah, son, not today. All right, we going down. All right, made the money coming up very quickly, and now hopefully we can do the same going in the opposite direction, which is what gold has been trying to tell us it wants to do by breaking these lows, changing from this major move up to now down, but then waiting for price to pull back. Look, every time you waited, right, if you waited here and then you sold, you made money, and then you would have known that this was support, so you wanted to take your money, right? Wherever you see the floors, wherever you see the V's when you're coming, in your direction, right, that's where you want to take your money, right? It's supposed to be, I call it game of zones, right? Where you're just going from zone to zone. So if you're at a high right here and this is the low, well, then you want to take your money there, right? But when you're looking at it from a higher time frame, those highs and those lows, oh boy, look, they change. right? They become way different. So this is where if you're aiming for these will take time. All right, it will take more time than it takes on the lower time frame, but it's all fractal, guys, right? If we're still doing game of zones, right, this is a high point, so where's the next low? There's a low, right? And then there's a low. Okay, this happens to be a swing low, which is more significant, right? It shows you that when price went down at this area, there was a lot of bullish pressure that pushed it all the way back up. So we can pretty much say if we're going to sell, this is an area that we can sell to before price decides that it may want to go right back up. All right, guys. But again, gold and UJ still looking decent. All right, gold, doing some playing around, but that's expected. Okay. UJ, yep, is also still looking good. So now we'll take a look at these indices, guys, and this might wrap it up. Dun, 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 dun. All right, SPY. So we pushed higher, we broke that high, and now this is possibly going to be our new high. I mean, we should get some kind of drop, but let me get back to the dollar. Again, guys, gold is a good position to buy it with a very tight stop loss going down. All right, here's dollar, and yeah, see, dollar looks like it's giving us some droppy drop here on the 1 minute, right? Looks like a bit of a head and shoulders kind of pattern. This is yeah, I think we're going to get a little bit of a drop, so we might not survive that gold trade. It is what it is, but we'll see. So again, just on SPY, when the dollar drops, SPY typically rises. All right, so looking at it on the 2 hour and then the 15. Okay, so yeah, this one is tough. All right, because it's definitely still bullish. All right, in terms of the structure, right, we got a nice run, consolidation, then a nice run. All right, where we broke above these highs or the structure high. All right, and we have demand sitting right here. All right, so if we do fall, we can easily just kind of come in here, fill the gap, tap into demand, and then take off once again. All right, so SPY is not quite ready for the drop. What we want to see is a break below this demand area. Okay, and yeah, so we want to see price drop down and break. Okay, candle body close below that demand, right? That's just letting us know that it potentially wants to reverse, right, and go lower. Okay, got a nice trend line that it could also break to tell us the exact same thing. Okay, but if we get that break now, again, it might be worth selling from this very high point. All right, because that's ultimately what we want to do. But let me give you guys the rundown, right? With doing it like this, taking your chances. Again, this typically can be a good thing, because if we're expecting price to break this low, right, that's good. That's just to tell us, okay, yeah, it's over, it's done with going higher and it wants to go lower. But what really, what we really need to do after that is wait. So it breaks. Now we got to wait. What are we waiting on? We're waiting on it to get higher once again, so that we can sell it from a high point. So guess what? If we're selling it from a high point right now, then we don't really have to wait, right? You know what I mean? We don't have to wait for it to break. We don't have to wait for it to pull back, right? We've already gotten in high, right? So this is where, again, most veterans, right, will try to take this, you know what I mean? Because we get away with a tighter stop loss, right? And then we can also make money as it's going on its way to change structure, right? And then even when we're in profit here, like when it starts to do like this, yes, we're losing money, but we're still in profit, still in profit, still in profit, still in profit. And then typically it gets right back to the entry where we got in, and then it drops once again, right? You get what I'm saying? So again, more than one way to skin a cat. in terms of, what you see with structure, but you just got to know about it to, be about it. All right. But SPY not quite ready yet, but I will be looking for that drop once we get below this low. So just, kind of set an alert, right? And that's all she wrote. Okay. So not ready just yet on SPY, but again, for my vets, y'all might want to take it with a very tight stop like that. All right. That's 6 points on SPY. And then bringing it down to probably this demand, this 37 points, easy money. All right. Getting back out of here. We're going to go take a look at NAS and US 30, and then we'll wrap it up, guys. So if you got questions, now is the time. Okay. Same for US 30. Same for NAS, right? Breaking above highs, making this new high, got imbalance with demand, right? Sitting in this area. So there is a very high chance that we could start to push down. Yeah, very high chance that we can start to push down, but we need the dollar to, oh, look at that. It's looking like it wants to rise now. Again, guys, like I said, you map out the possibilities. You don't know which one is going to be 100%, but some of them, most of the time, what you know should happen, right, is typically what will happen, right? If you really understand structure, right? It's just sometimes it'll play around with you, right, before it does that, because it knows that it has to, right? It can't just make everything all nice and smooth, because everybody would catch on, and the table would turn, right? And they don't want that, right? So yeah, there's a high possibility that we can get a drop soon on the indices to where, we're looking at 300 some odd points on NAS. Again, 30 to 37 points on SPY. And now last but not least, US 30. Okay. It doesn't look as clean in terms of the structure like NAS and SPY, but respecting this fair value gap to the T, right? And I do like that, because what happened since the week began is we've been just up and down, up and down, up and down, right? But now you can see this was a big push up, but we are failing to go higher. So there's big possibility, guys, that we can come right back down, right, and start, pushing lower, because that's what this whole chart pattern represented in the first place, was a bearish reversal. So we broke out of it, we pulled back, right, what we're supposed to, dropped all the way here, okay, even though we did the wiggy waggy, right, we really dropped all the way down. And so with the uncertainty, probably right when, the whole government shutdown thing began, it pushed up, right, and then respected this area. So we're not out of the water yet, meaning this can still rise, because if the dollar does, this little dip, right, this US 30 could still rise. So what I will be waiting for is possibly price to take out this high. Okay, so I would look for it to do something like this, right? And if it does, right, then I will be looking to put my position at that area, looking to make sure I'm above this swing high, right, to survive. That's 188 pips. 188 points on US 30, which is nothing. Okay, and we got a 1 in 10 on it, because we're aiming for the low all the way down here, guys. Again, liquidity all behind this trend line, a huge demand area right here that has not been tapped into. So that's pretty much what we're aiming for. All right, again, there's just 2 days left, but anything is possible. Okay, so just, you need to, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, right? Sell limit somewhere in this area. All right, stop above the high and take it on down. All right, as you get to any kind of support level, right, you want to be looking to take your money, or at least lock in profits, right? That's how you make it risk free, and you don't have to worry and stress about what the trade is going to do. All right, so guys, that'll be it. All right, any questions, any comments, any concerns? Take the time out, let me know. Okay, I'll check on our trades. Oh, I think we lost gold. Yep, sure did. And then look, it took us out. It got to this supply and then it dropped tremendously. But this is what I'm talking about. You know, this is how it goes. All right, still gonna set an alert and wait for that to get below, and then I'll probably be right back in. All right, and UJ. All right, UJ still good, and dollar. Yep, dollars. So again, like I said, we were supposed to have news. Nothing actually came out today. And everything for tomorrow is set to tentative. All right, so yeah, guys, just flying by market structure, and nothing wrong with that. All right, but I do like the dollar to rise. So any of your major major pairs, right, that have the dollar in it, right, the non-dollar based pairs, odd dollar, euro dollar, pound, New Zealand dollar, I expect those to drop. All right, so drop on odd dollar, probably a little bit more of a push up on EU before the drop. All right, GU already dropped, right, from that supply area. All right, so I can see GU just continuing to fall. All right, NU, all right, looks perfect, right? This is a good time to get into NU, all right, for the sell. All right, so position there and stops right about there. That's only 18 pips, and you're making 70 pips to the downside. All right, dollar CAD is mixy, and I don't really like it for a buy, even though it could rise. I just don't like it. Dollar CHF definitely could rise up into these supply areas when the dollar rises, and you're talking 123 pips. UJ again 300 pips, right? That's all I'm focused on. That and gold and possibly US 30 SPY or NAS, all right, for the drops. So that'll do it, ladies and gents. Appreciate y'all getting up with me, rocking with me. Don't forget to check me out, Forex with Bain. Hit that like and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. All right, I'll break it down and I'll get you paid. All right. In the meantime, in between time, hope y'all have a great morning. I'll see y'all tomorrow. All right. Peace.